Welcome, everyone. This is Pam Dunwald with Your Nurse Advocates Consulting, and we are here for another session for our video for the Senior Care Summit 2024. And we are excited to bring a caregiver to you to share her experience and what she does. And Tamara Davie has Tada Home Care, and as we can see, Tada Child Care. But we are excited to have Tamara be able to share her experience about what it's like as a caregiver, as well as to support families that have caregiving needs. So welcome, Tamara. We're glad to have you. And why don't you start out by talking a little bit about yourself and what you do.
So my name is Tamara Davie, born and raised here in Detroit, Michigan. And I started out caregiving as a very young girl. My grandmother used to help with the seniors in the church. And so I would go along with her when she went to the nursing homes to drop off care packages for some of the seniors at our church. And I would see her just walking around the church, making sure everyone was okay as a church nurse. And as our great grandmother got older, my grandmother took care of her. Of course, that was her mother, and I helped her with that. And it just kind of turned into a love that I had that I learned from watching my grandmother and my mother throughout my life. So I ended up turning it into a business.
Well, I do want to share for everyone too that Tamara, I just want to say thank you for your service. You are are you retired or are you still in is it the Air Force?
Yes, ma'am. I'm no longer in. I served 6 years and I've been out for 3.
Okay. Well, thank you for your service. Uh, Well, let's get started by talking about, we want this video to be very supportive for our family caregivers. Those of you that are taking on the challenge of caring for, whether it's an aging parent, a grandparent, a great-grandparent, or a sibling, or even a spouse. We want to support you and to let you know that there are some resources out there to help you. So we're going to start out. I'm going to ask Tamara to just kind of share some of the joys. What are the positive things about being a family caregiver?
Well, in my experience, I feel like the best thing about being a family caregiver for the family member that's being cared for is that they know and trust their caregiver. So it's not like there's a stranger on the outside coming in. They don't necessarily have to worry about someone misplacing something or not respecting their customs and daily routine that they have going on. A family member would know that because they already know you, and you don't have to worry about putting things away to make sure that nothing's stolen or lost. So those are some things that I feel like are things that the senior or the family member would appreciate, the family member caring for them. And me as a family caregiver, some of the things that I love is just that extra time to be able to bond with those family members that I'm caring for, and knowing that their ailment or their disability is going to be supported and possibly get better because of what I'm doing. And I can make a difference in my family member's life.
And, I think about it from, trying to look at everyone's perspective and to look at it for a moment from the perspective of the loved one that's being cared for. I mean, oftentimes when you have that, like you mentioned, when you have someone that knows you and they're a family member or even a friend, they feel comfortable speaking out. They feel comfortable sharing their needs. Sometimes when a stranger is there, whether even if it's an experienced caregiver, sometimes, they may be hesitant to say something because they're just not comfortable. So hopefully, if with the, that's why if you're looking at an agency that is, bringing caregivers for an aging loved one, that's one of the things why I say it's just really, really important for consistency, because the more that senior, that loved one is with the same person, they can get more comfortable. So Tamara, tell me a little bit, what becomes, I mean, I know it's hard because some caregivers feel that they caregive out of responsibility. Some caregivers feel that they care because they want to care. I mean, in your experience, what does it take to be a caregiver? What sometimes do they give up?
Sometimes you give up your personal time because it may be a time where you're saying, "Oh, well, I'm going to go out and meet up for brunch with a couple friends." But if you're caring for an aging family member or an ill family member, and they're not feeling well, then they may call and say, "Hey, I need to go to urgent care," or something like that. And so, if you're doing something at that moment, this is a medical crisis or emergency. So you're going to have to stop what you're doing in order to meet that need and get them the medical assistance that they'll need. But I mean, you can always go to brunch another time, of course. But I mean, if you were looking at that as, oh, this is my free window, my only, amount of time that I can use to do something for me, and then now that's, being kind of taken away, it can get a little frustrating at times.
And I know another challenge that we can come across too is just balancing your caregiving responsibilities with maybe your job and then also your family and your own kids. So, I mean, have you, in your experience, how have people been um trying to juggle all of that?
It's a bit much to juggle at times. I like to keep a schedule just so I can keep myself accountable for not overworking myself to kind of avoid burnout, which sometimes is unavoidable. But I like to keep a schedule. So I have Tada childcare that I run during the day, and any caregiving that I do for Tada Home Care Agency, I do that in the evening once I've already closed or in everything. And sometimes on the weekend, if there are like last minute things that need to get done for family members that I'm caring for, then I could do it on the weekend. We usually see each other at church. And I try to keep like family time separate from family caregiving so that way we can enjoy ourselves. But sometimes things come up. And so if we're at church and you just happen to want me to know, hey, I have a doctor's appointment on Thursday. All right, let me put that in my calendar. So sometimes it does kind of blend with work and life, but using the Google Calendar makes it a lot easier to kind of balance the work life struggle.
So, Tamara, do you schedule in personal time or family time? I mean, do you schedule your time as much as you schedule work time?
I do. I schedule time for myself. Earlier today, I did my house chores and then I blacked out an hour and a half where I can lay around and do whatever I want to do. So I laid on the couch and I watched my telenovelas for an hour and a half.
But that's really important because we both know that if you don't do things like that and you don't take that time and I just want to say, and Tamara, what can you say to people about not feeling guilty, or what advice can you give people about making sure that they have their own personal time as far as not feeling guilty or that?
Caregiver guilt is a real thing. And so sometimes when you're doing things on your own, like maybe going out for a drink with friends or going to the spa, getting a massage or something, sometimes you will have that guilt in the back of your head, like, oh, what if someone needs me and you need you too? You're caring for everyone else and you have to take time to care for yourself because if you don't take care of yourself, what can you do? We have to be healthy and strong and have a clear mind to be able to care for everyone else. And ourselves, we're not any different. We need to make sure we're going to the doctor. I know like a couple months ago, I kept putting off my doctor's appointment because I knew that everyone else had doctor's appointments and procedures coming up. So I put mine off. And unfortunately, when I got sick, what am I supposed to do now? Because I'm the person that takes care of everyone. So I learned my lesson with neglecting my own needs. So hopefully, me keeping my Google Calendar and making sure that I have my own time carved out, I can keep up with that. But I would encourage all caregivers to have a designated day or a time every day that they can just have to themselves to just decompress and not have to talk on the phone, not have to rip and run errands for everyone else. because we can't neglect ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, we can't give from an empty cup. And if you don't schedule time to refill it, there's nothing else left to give. And that's when burnout sets in. And then that's a dark hole that oftentimes is very hard to get out of. Um, so besides, is there anything else that you do besides scheduling in your Google Calendar, scheduling your time? Is there anything else that you can give advice or recommendations to try and prevent that burnout? Or what are some ways to try and stay positive about the whole situation?
Just knowing that you are making a difference in your loved ones' lives, and just knowing that, you know, you are a part of that care team. So if your loved one that you're caring for has a disability or an ailment, and they have, you know, specialty doctors on their care team, you are a part of that care team as well as their caregiver, because the things that they need to get done that you're doing are making a huge difference. So just knowing that, you know, what you do is not in vain. A lot of times will kind of like raise your spirits up high, knowing that, okay, what I do matters. And like I said, just making sure that you keep yourself accountable to take a day every week, or even maybe like the 2-2-2 rule, like every 2 weeks, go out somewhere, like take a day and go out for lunch. Or sometimes I go and I have a salad and I just sit somewhere and I turn my phone upside down, or sometimes I leave it in the car and I go have a salad or whatever, and just, I don't know, just have some time alone to just enjoy something that I like, or um stay at home for a whole day, you know? But every 2 weeks you should be doing something like that, going out on an outing or something like that. And then maybe every 2 months, then you can take a day, a whole entire day where you don't do any work. And then maybe um 2 months after that, then take 2 whole days. So just kind of adding like the 2-2-2 rule to your schedule, and making sure that, you know, every 2 days you take at least 2 hours to be quiet. Every 2 weeks you go out. Every 2 months, maybe take a trip or do something fun where you're out of town or away, something like that. So that way you can keep yourself refueled and energized, because if you don't take that break, you're going to get very drained very fast.
Great advice. So let's say that they're implementing the 2-2-2 process, and they need to go out of town, or they need, maybe they're just in that beginning where they're just going to go out for 2 hours. So what can we do to help family caregivers to build that support team? What are some options for them to find help that can give them that time away?
Making sure that you have a backup caregiver, so that way you are not always the go-to person, because if I'm always the go-to person, I won't have any time for myself. So making sure that there are backup people in the family that know, well, these are the days that, for instance, our grandmother has physical therapy. The nurse comes here. So on Thursday, someone needs to be there to let the physical therapist in. I'll be on vacation this day to this day. So someone needs to be there. And if you would happen to have like Ring cameras or anything like that, then you'll be able to see when the physical therapist is there, and then you can call and say, hey, the physical therapist is at the door. Who's
Mhm,
there? Oh, I stepped
mhm,
away, I went to the kitchen. Okay, well, they're at the door, let them in. Something
mhm.
like that. That way you have kind of like a checks and balances system, and you have other people like on standby when you're not available. So I would highly encourage that, because I actually just went out of town to Indiana for the non-medical home care gala awards, and I was gone for 2 days. And so my husband is my backup person if I'm not here, him and my cousin lives 2 doors down from our family member that we care for. And so I was able to call her and say, hey, can you go and let the home nurse in? And then my husband went over and took the trash out and did a few things. And then when I got back, to my regular scheduled program. But the care wasn't neglected just because I was gone. There was
Mhm.
coverage.
Mhm.
And that is very important to have that support system and that care team to make sure that nothing is neglected when one person is gone.
And, and that's something too that, that's really important. And that's a topic, for its own that we're going to address later is just what does it take to build, build out that care team. But what types of agencies or what type of support is available for people out there if maybe they don't have a lot of family or maybe they need to rely on some other types of help? What kinds of things are out there for people?
Well, my number one answer is going to be that church family, because church family is always willing to help. So, I mean, that's how I got started as a caregiver, helping the seniors in my church. And so, a lot of them, some of their children went out of state for college and things like that. And so, they didn't necessarily have children and grandchildren home that was close enough to help them. And so, that's why me and my grandma, we helped a lot with the seniors in the church. So, that church family is always going to be like the best line of defense when you need something. I feel like if you are active in the church and things like that, if you're a part of like a social club or anything like that, like the YMCA, and you build those relationships and you trust someone like that, then always go with people that you know personally first. But if those options are not available, then I would reach out to the Department of Health and Human Services in your county and talk with a case manager that can help if you do have Medicaid, and let them know I need a little help at home. I don't necessarily have anyone that I can personally call to do these things. I would like to get signed up for home help services. And then they'll help you fill out the application. And then you take that application to the doctor and they sign off saying that, yes, this person has these health ailments and they do need some help. And once that doctor signs off on it, then you can either pick someone that you personally know to be your caregiver, and the state Medicaid insurance will pay for that caregiver, or they can assign someone to you that's already in the system for caregiving.
And so, Tamara, then what is to that home care? What do you offer? How do your services work?
So I most of the people that I help do have Medicaid, so they went through the Department of Health and Human Services. In my area, we call it the DHS office. And so a lot of them already have case managers and they are already receiving Medicaid insurance. And so they just needed to get that approval letter from their doctor. And then they give them my name. And then that's how I became their caregiver. And so they don't have to worry about paying anything or anything like that because the state pays for it. But the things that I offer are helping them get dressed. If there's a man and needs a little help shaving, putting the shaving cream on. If they need a little help getting out of the shower, or if they have an incontinence issue, just getting that commode changed out, dumping, the expelled,
Mhm.
like dumping out the commode, making sure that their bedding is changed, helping with just light house chores, vacuuming, sweeping, mopping, the dishes. Laundry is a big one because most people here in Michigan, their washing machine and dryer is downstairs in the basement. And as they get older, it's harder to go up and down the stairs. So we want to prevent falling as much as possible. So I just say, whatever you do with the laundry is up to you. Whatever makes it easier. If putting it in the laundry chute that goes down to the basement is easier, do that. If you have a laundry basket that's next to your bed, throw it in there. If you miss and it's on the floor, that's fine too. Don't stress yourself out bending over trying to get it. I'll get it when I get there. So my laundry day is Thursday. And so that's the thing that I do is the laundry, clean up the bathroom, clean out the refrigerator, get the house prepped up for the holiday. I know around Christmas, I was helping with Christmas trees and all kinds of stuff. So those are some things I do, and go pick up prescriptions from the pharmacy, run errands. A lot of people are taking advantage of the different apps that you can order your groceries online and then someone drops them off and bring them to your porch. So I make sure I'm there when that grocery delivery comes, and then I can get it and put those groceries away. So that's something else that I offer. If they just need a ride to the doctor's office, then I do that as well.
So just, these services, again, the whole purpose of the Senior Care Summit is to let you know that there are these types of resources out there. Now, I know in Wisconsin, we, instead of the DHS or Department of Human Services, which we still have, but our senior agency is called the Aging and Disability Resource Center. They would be the ones that where you would go to and actually, as an advocate, that's the first place that I tell all of, everyone to go to, is go there first, have an interview, see what services you may qualify for, and see what resources you can get at a no cost or reduced cost, and then we see where you're at. But that is like your number one resource to go to first. And that's where we send everyone, because we want you to be able to get everything that you can, that you can get. And so for those that would meet those expectations, those qualifications for state Medicaid, you can get a lot of those services that are paid for, and they determine how many hours you get. And so, Tamara, is there anything that you can think of that we haven't talked about as far as caregiving goes, or supporting family caregivers? Is there anything that you'd like to talk about that we haven't touched on?
Just different things that can help with a family member or loved one that is living with disabilities. Things that can just make staying home instead of going to like a nursing home or somewhere like that, or an assisted living. If they want to stay in their home, things that family can get together and do just to make that staying home process a lot easier for a disabled family member.
And so so what types of things would, if someone wants to age at home and maybe they have a disability, or they don't want to go in a nursing home, what are some of the things that the families need to consider when putting a plan in place to support their aging loved one?
Well, a part of that plan, the most important thing is having emergency contacts available at all times, somewhere where they can get to them. A lot of people, like if they like to cook a lot or something like that, I would say putting that emergency contact list on the refrigerator. So that way they always see it if that's somewhere they always are, or if they're in the living room and they like their word search, put that emergency contact list on top of the word search book. Just put it in a place that that they're going to be and spend the most time. And that would just consist of like poison control, of course, the police department, things like that. Their doctor, their primary care doctor's number should be on that list, as well as family members that are nearby, or even a trusted neighbor that lives nearby. I know my mom, she has a neighbor that's always willing to help in case of an emergency. So it's in her phone. But if another family member is there and, need a little support, and I would make sure that Miss Page next door phone number is on that list. So that way, you know, those emergency contacts are right there and accessible to anybody that is in the home at that time. Making sure that if there's someone that's kind of hard of hearing, making sure that the TV is up for them and there's subtitles to read in case they're having a day where they're not able to hear the TV, or their hearing aid battery is kind of low. And they, if the charger for the hearing aid, for instance, is upstairs, then making sure those subtitles are on the TV so that way they can read along with the show, so they're not having a hard time hearing. Making sure their phone volume is turned up so that way they can hear the phone. And the vibrate too, so that way if it's in their pocket, if they don't happen to hear it, then they can feel it vibrating on their hip. If there's someone that is living with diabetes, making sure that their meter is close by. Once again, if they sit in the living room for a huge chunk of the day, then making sure that meter is close by. What do you call those? The blood pressure cuff, making sure that's close by. Some peppermints or some hard candy in case their blood sugar drops or something like that. Making sure that there's little juice boxes or something, so that way they can sip some juice to bring that sugar back up. And Google Calendar alerts for doctor's appointments and things like that. Because sometimes, like if they're living with dementia or Alzheimer's or something like that, and they have some kind of memory issues going on, they may forget their doctor's appointments. And so with my family, we use a dry erase board on the refrigerator. So we write the appointments and things like that for the month on the dry erase board, and then I put them in the Google Calendar. You can do a shared calendar, and there are also apps. I personally use Connected Caregiver, and so I can put those appointment dates on the calendar, and then it's shared to whatever family members that I'm caring for, and it's kind of like a shared calendar on the app. And you can put medication reminders on the app. But if you don't want to use an app, you can always use your phone, and you put the alarms on your phone for whenever you need to take the medicine. And you can even put the name of the medicine on the alarm, because you can, label the alarms and things like that. So you can name one alarm water pill, you can name another alarm aspirin, and have a different ringtone for the different medications if you want. And once again, making sure that volume is turned up so they can hear it. And there's also like this app, it's kind of like a gadget. It's called Hero Health, and it's a
Yes.
medication dispenser.
Mm-hmm.
And you can like fill it up with the medication and set the timer, and it will release the medicine at a certain time. And then it goes off. There's like a sound that goes off when it's time to take that medicine, and it releases the exact amount that you need. And you don't have to keep doing that every day, because you can put enough in there for a month. So that's also an option as well. And then
Yes,
just making sure. Oh, I'm sorry.
no, that's, I was just gonna say, yeah, the Hero, we've used that as well, and we like that. And I was gonna ask you, Tamara, what was the name of that app that you use for caregiver that you were referring to?
Connected Caregiver.
Connect to Caregiver, okay. And is that a free app that you can use?
It is a free app. There are other features on there that are paid, but
Mhm.
you don't have to use the paid option. You can use that free option where you can add as many people in there as you like. You can add caregivers as well as family members that are being cared for on there. And the shared calendar is a part of the free feature, and messaging. So you can message inside of the app.
Very nice. Yeah, that's I can see how that would be very helpful. What did you have many of your clients or family members, do you utilize like a life alert or lifeline or any of those emergency kind of bracelets or pendants? I know those are sometimes handy.
Yes, they don't necessarily have the one where you press the button and then it alerts the, I guess the emergency responders, but
Mm-hmm.
they do have the bracelets with, you can get them to make them look cute nowadays. Because I know, before, like it would just say like your health ailments and stuff on the front, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
But now you can get them in different styles and things like that, and necklaces. I had a necklace a long time ago. I don't know what happened to it, but you can get the necklace or the bracelet, and you can get them to look like bangles, and it'll have your name and like maybe an emergency contact phone number for a family member. And then like say for instance, diabetes, asthma, or whatever the ailment is listed on there as well. And you can add little charms to it. So it wouldn't be something that would make you stand out and look different or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
It can look like
Mm-hmm.
a regular bracelet or a regular necklace.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, they do have those. They have the bangles.
And I know sometimes, the lifeline or the life alert, I mean, that's depending on your situation. That is an additional cost. I mean, those are not, most of the time they are not free, and they usually go through a phone company or another provider. And so there's usually a monthly charge anywhere from $25 to $35 a month for those. But if someone were to fall and they live alone, they could push a button or that, and then it would call you, you would set up the people that in line would be a first responder. And then if they don't answer, then it would go to 911. So that's another option, but just to know that, that there is some cost there. And when you were talking about the bracelets, and then I thought too, now can be kind of spendy. So if anybody's watching this video and wants more information, just reach out. But they have even gotten now where they have bracelets that where you attach the bracelet, it's actually a flash drive that goes in there, and it has your medical history on it. It has your medication list. It has allergies. I mean, it has a lot of information. So if you have maybe complex medical care or complex medical conditions, and that would be very valuable. Yeah, the EMTs or the paramedics, they can, yeah, access that, just put that in a computer, and they can, all that stuff comes up. So they're getting very sophisticated with a lot of these things. So Tamara, can you think of anything else, any tips of the trade for making family caregiving easier?
I would definitely recommend using those apps for sure, because once again, you're not always trying to remember when those appointments are for your loved ones and things like that. And I would recommend putting your own appointments on that calendar so that way they know, hey, this day is not available because Tamara has a dentist appointment and I don't want to have to, cancel every time I have something, cancel it, because they don't know. The family member won't know unless you tell them. So I would say put your own appointments on that shared calendar as well, whether that's a shared calendar through Google Calendar or through the Connected Caregiver app. But if you have that shared calendar, which I highly recommend, put your stuff on there too. So that way everyone knows, and you're not double booking yourself because you don't want to get burned out, like I said before. And the Connected Caregiver app also has fall detection. So I guess like if the phone is like moving around a certain way, they can detect if your family member is falling. So making sure things like that are activated, because that's something important. You wouldn't want your family member to fall and they're laying there for help for a long time. God forbid if they hit their head or something like that. So that fall protection, they have that in a few apps actually too. So just making sure that you keep up with those medications and those appointments are the biggest things that I can recommend for sure.
No, great advice. And people that, when Tamara was talking about the shared calendar, I mean, if you're worried about what other people think what you're doing, I mean, you don't have to put what you're doing on the calendar. You could just block out your time and just say unavailable. I mean, if you, you don't have to, say I'm going to the spa today, and then you feel bad about that. But yeah, just say that you're unavailable. But and you can tell as caregivers, we're just worried about that. So, but
Yeah.
what other people might be, hey, what are you doing? But no. So Tamara, this has been very, very, I think, eye-opening and very supportive for our family caregivers. Is there anything else that you could think of that would be important to share?
Just definitely making sure that you are patient and mindful, because sometimes when our family members have like Alzheimer's or dementia or things like that, or just aging, just like aging pains, like I like to call them, just they're the one that's going through it, and sometimes they get a little frustrated too that they are not able to do things for themselves that they once were able to do. And so sometimes they may get a little snippy, and just being mindful of that and trying to have a little grace and compassion and patience. Patience is the biggest thing as a caregiver, because it's going to be tested a lot of times. So just making sure that you keep yourself in check, you know.
No, and it is. And I mean, if you look at it again from their perspective, there it's complete role reversal. I mean, they used to be a parent, they used to be, grandpa, they were used to being depended on instead of being, dependent on, someone else. And so it's hard. I mean, aging is, you have to learn to adjust and give up a lot of things that you used to do that you can't do anymore. And that can be very frustrating. So, like you said, just grace, patience, empathy, all those things. So, Tamara, I just want to thank you so much. And if you are in the Metro Detroit area, Tamara, tell us what is the best way for some of the viewers to maybe reach out or inquire about your services.
You can reach out by phone at 586-738-0831. You can call or you can text, and we'll definitely be able to assist you with all of your home care needs. We're also on Facebook and Instagram, Tada Home Care Agency. You can find us on social media as well.
Well, thank you so much, and I'm very, very glad that you were able to take the time to share with us. And everyone, this is going to conclude this video on family caregiving, and we will see you back on another video for Senior Care Summit. Take care.